As the title suggests, FACEMINER is an ominous idle game. And quite frankly, I'm here for it. Let's talk about that. So let's begin by first explaining what the game is. FACEMINER is an incremental idle game set in the very late 90s, and you've just been hired by FACEMINER Corporation to comb through and harvest facial data that's been collected by them for their elite clientele. First things first, let's boot up the company computer and take a look. Oh yeah, I'm totally digging the vibe. Immediately out of the gate, you will get the atmosphere the game is going for, and if you're someone like me who is slowly approaching the infamous number 30 in a couple of years, this UI might feel right at home for you. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. Anyways, after you get into the system and head on over to the FACEMINER suite and open it up, you'll then be greeted by this game's version of Clippy. However, our wooden friend here is actually helpful and offers you the tutorial on how to play the game and how to advance through the story mechanics. From here, you will learn how to purchase datasets and mine faces, which in turn gives you money upon each face click. After completing your first dataset, you then realize the text-to-speech email system.
Onboarding information. Sender. FACEMINER administration.
We'll come back to this later, don't worry. Once you get to level 10, you then get access to various upgrades which can ease your progression, such as an automated face clicking and accuracy for said automation, as it will sometimes not click the correct square with a face in it. Oh, and the ability to actually save the game. Yeah, you gotta buy this to save every time, but unlike certain games out there, you don't have to use real money to save, and it's very cheap and available at all times, so after this point, it's no real biggie. Plus, when you reach certain major ranks throughout the game, it then autosaves for you at those intervals. So there isn't really a need to buy this unless you have to manually save for whatever reason. So you just upgraded some stuff, buying various improvements to your system so you can improve your auto mode speed and accuracy, and then suddenly you realize you're in the negative and this happens. Oh yeah, there's ways to lose. From simply running into the negative, like you just saw, to overheating your entire computer, and even in some cases overloading your CPU or RAM and ending up blue screening your entire OS. Something you'll learn very quickly is the necessity of keeping on top of not only going bankrupt, but also balancing out the entire system resources to make sure you're running within tolerance and heat temps. It's a gentle balancing act to try and keep everything running as smooth as possible. There is a bit more to the game than what I've just stated here, but I'll let you guys figure that out for yourself. The main thing I want to cover is the story, and the subtle yet intriguing background storytelling that happens as you progress through the game. We're going to be talking about major story spoilers here, so I would advise either jumping to the timestamp on screen or coming back to the video once you've experienced it for yourself and want another perspective on it. I'll give you 5 seconds to make that choice. Still here? Alright then, let's do this. As you progress through the datasets and buy upgrades, the emails you receive start off mundane and very trivial for the most part, with other miners occasionally either offering tips and guidance to you or just talking about cats for whatever reason.
Like watching paint dry. Sender. #299A. Is anyone else super bored? I thought we were all on the information superhighway headed to a non-stop cyber party, but face mining is uber dull. Stuck. Sender. #B30. Ever feel like you've just hit a wall? My electricity bills are so high I can barely scrape by, and haven't been able to afford an automation or accuracy upgrade in days. Does anyone have tips for getting out of a rut? Does anyone else here have a cat?
But once in a while, you get something out of the ordinary.
Something in the water. Sender. #L392. I've been on the job for 2 years now, and this is my first time seeing data so corrupted. Pages and pages of junk. Is there a shortage of flesh and blood human beings out there?
As you progress through the game, these kinds of emails will occasionally pop up and give a little more insight to the story, and even some reactions to what you're doing from your fellow miners. Eventually, when you get to a certain point, the last major mechanic of the game comes into play: the emission system. This is a direct response to the insane amount of power you've been consuming and the sheer volume of greenhouse gases that your facility has been dumping into the air. You now have to combat the amount of emissions you've been putting out by buying some of the new upgrades in the last unlocked tab. You can also now see the planetary heat index, or the wet bulb scale, which, by the way, is actually a real life thing. As you progress through the levels, paying off political figureheads and spewing propaganda efforts, you start seeing more and more emails from other miners talking about how the air quality has gone really smoggy, and air filters, which used to last weeks, now only last a few mere hours.
Air filters? Sender. #K92L. Anyone else's air filters turning black within hours? Used to last me weeks. Probably just need a better brand.
Because of the rising concerns due to the living conditions outside, some of your fellow workers begin questioning whether they should even continue, to which other miners are immediately pushing back on the thought of it and referring to it as cowardice. You slowly start getting occasional videos popping up showing multiple natural disasters occurring due to global warming. From here, we are nearing the end of the game, where eventually it all comes ahead when you come to the realization that you willingly destroyed the environment and caused global warming to reach an unprecedented level. Because of you, the temperature has risen to dangerous levels, which in turn has ended up destroying the planet's habitability altogether. And even as you draw ever closer to your goal, you hear it. The world has officially been brought to the edges of an extinction level event, all because of you. In the last few emails you get sent in the final moments before the total collapse of the world as we know it, is the administration applauding your efforts and referring to you as the Chosen. They then go on about how it was always apparently you that would achieve their goals, and asking if you can feel the transformation, and then ending it off with, "We are nearly home."
The Chosen. Sender. FACEMINER Administration. It is clear now that it was always you. Can you feel the transformation? You alone can complete this. We are nearly home.
Shortly after being dropped with that weird major story piece, you then get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of videos of disasters and error messages that end up overloading your screen and burying your desktop. You then receive another email from them titled Liberation, and says that you're nearly there and that you should prepare for system-wide integration.
Liberation. Sender. Unknown. We are so close. Prepare for system-wide integration.
And then, on screen, the countdown slowly begins to fade in, and before it all ends, the very last email you get is from an unknown source titled, "Thank you," and he just repeats that phrase over and over and over again.
Thank you. Sender. Unknown. Thank you, 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 thank you.
And then...
Some may feel a call to question or hesitate. Resist.
it's all over. It shuts down to a near black screen with faint faces in the background being cycled through faster and faster until you're hit with this. The Miner OS admin view. The options we have on screen are the run cycle analysis, instructions, certificate, message writer, and log stream, along with the options to start another run or power down the system. Opening the first option gives you a myriad of different statistics with an evaluation and recommendation section about your run and how well you complied with their orders. It gives us a hint about what's going on with the whole FACEMINER Corporation. There's even a section at the bottom talking about ethical compliance. The second option is a rundown about how to run the simulation and what to keep an eye out for during its operation. However, there is a section that is redacted here. The third option lets you see your certificate, which has your overall grade for the run and a brief breakdown of your stats. It even gives you the option to print it IRL too, which is a nice little attention to detail. The fourth option is the message writer, and honestly, this is more of a fun little side option that lets you send yourself an email at any point during your future runs. There isn't really much to note here. The fifth option is the log stream, which is rather interesting, as it shows other miners buying and upgrading various things. It gives a bit more insight into what's been going on here. When you get to this point and look over the various other pieces of information within this section, the realization sets in that this entire thing from start to finish has been a simulation. From the moment you booted up your game right up until this very point, everything has been nothing more than an artificial scenario. A scenario ran and monitored by FACEMINER Corporation. It does actually explain a lot when you really think about it. It's why you're not affected by the global temperature increases, why you don't eat or sleep. Hell, it even explains why you can't reply to any of the emails even though common sense dictates that you should be able to. All the other miners get to talk back and forth with each other with no constraints, and yet somehow you're not allowed to. Well, it's because none of them actually exist. The emails are just there to anchor the AI, or in this instance, you. It's all there to keep you from guessing your surroundings and keeping you focused on the simulation they have designed for you. A lot of the information supports this and even hints that all the information being mined is supposed to be fed into some sort of AI early on in the emails you received.
The less we know, the better? Sender, #JJ23. Does anyone ever think about what this data is ever actually used for? I mean, I know it's used as an input for some sort of AI, but what does that mean? What are they training it to do? External message, AI scum. Sender, unknown. You're all traitors. How can you live with yourselves when you are enabling this AI abomination to destroy the earth and profit through your labor? Know that we are watching you and we will take action. Say no to the AI takeover.
A funny side note here is that one of the first few emails you receive is an advertisement for caffeine pills. The very email itself is a play on words. Stimulacrum is the email handle, but the word it's taken from is simulacrum or simulacra. The definition of this word means a representation or imitation of a person or thing. Personally, it feels a little like an Easter egg or a piece of information that kind of adds to the idea that none of this is real from the get-go. To prove this point further is that despite the world supposedly ending and all the other miners have ascended with you, in the log stream there are various miners still upgrading and mining facial data. If you pay close attention, there are even some of them that have the ethics containment unstable warning next to them. Another interesting thing to note is the quantum squared multi-threading engaged on certain ones. Just to point out, in the real world, scientists have been looking into quantum computing for AI applications for quite a few years now, so at least to me this makes it more plausible that the entire thing is in fact a simulation. To give further evidence towards this line of thinking, there are a few emails from a journalist called Brother Tom, on which early on he asks you for an interview since you're the newest recruit at the company, as the information publicly available about FACEMINER Corporation is very sparse at best.
External message, information exchange opportunity. Sender, Brother Tom at publicinsider.com. I'm a journalist working for Public Insider who are currently investigating FACEMINER Corporation and their business practices. I keep a close eye on their public records, and noticed you're a pretty new recruit. Would you be willing to speak with me about the hiring process and the kind of work you do? We can ensure discretion and are offering compensation for any resulting job loss. Call from your home phone and ask for Brother Tom.
The second one you receive from him is about the fact that the company is causing a lot of ecological damage and it's starting to turn heads.
External message, information exchange opportunity. Sender, Brother Tom at publicinsider.com. Not sure if you've seen a paper or broadcast recently, but whatever it is you're up to over there is starting to turn heads. My offer still stands if you can provide any useful information, especially if it relates to FACEMINER's internal stance on some of the concerns being raised.
And the final email you get from him at the tail end of the game is a major discovery about the fact that you're the only employee at the company, and they're not even sure you even exist to begin with.
External message, information exchange opportunity. Sender, Brother Tom at publicinsider.com. My team has uncovered some information that I feel duty-bound to pass on. Our extensive trawling of FACEMINER's private HR files has revealed that you are currently their only employee. What's more, is there doesn't appear to have ever been any other employees. We're not even sure you exist. What on earth is going on over there?
Now, this may seem like it's kind of proving that this is a real situation and not a simulation, but let's remember, one of their key parts to do with testing was the ethical plasticity of you, which means that our dear brother Tom doesn't actually exist either. He is there to get the AI to question the reality of its situation so that they can gauge whether you would pull back and retreat from completing the mission. Another thing that would seem to call into question the high chances that none of this is real is the documents folder and what contains within it. Personally, I think yet again, these are just there to further anchor you into this being real life and give the simulated world a more fleshed out background. Towards the middle end of the game, there's a crucial document that you receive that discusses human DNA death and the complete collapse of the ecosystem. Also included within this is an apathetic outlook to these concerns and only sees the high attempts as improving efficiency. Once again, trying to pull on the ethical side of you to see what you would do once learning about it. So even after learning about all of this, no matter what decisions you made, what different mining speeds you went at, or how careful you were about the climate issues, it would always end up the same way. So, the only two options you have left before you is you either continue the cycle and begin again, or shut down the terminal and break the infinite loop. Now, to be clear, there's a few things still up in the air that are unanswered, such as what FACEMINER Corporation's objectives even are to begin with and what is the point in all of this. Personally, I feel like the game leaves out a lot of direct information and simple, straight answers about the whole backstory, as I feel like it's meant to be left up to the player themselves to interpret the meaning behind the whole thing. And honestly, I kind of like that. It gives this eerie sense of unknown and keeps the door open for all kinds of different routes if the developer Riskwork decides to add more story content to the game in a major update. Or even make a sequel/side game to flesh out the FACEMINER universe. And honestly, I'm really excited for that. Honestly, I kind of feel like FACEMINER is in a really interesting spot. It's a solid foundation to a really great idea. Aesthetics, music, sound effects, presentation, hits everything on the head. I do think it is a little too short when it comes to some story stuff, and I do feel like there could be more added to the game, which I'm hoping there is. I'm hoping there's more content coming down the line to actually make it a fantastic long-term stay in the idle genre. But as it stands right now, it's a solid game, and for only about £5.60 or about $8 if it's full price, about £6 odd quid, something like that. I think it's honestly a really good bargain if you're looking for a small-time story, good aesthetics, fantastic soundtrack, by the way. The composer is Madrek. Honestly, 10 out of 10. Absolutely gonna glaze all that songs, all the songs, the entire album repeatedly. Fantastic music. And again, Riskwork, fantastic dev. It's very supportive, very communicative, talks in the Discord a lot, and helps you fix bugs a ton. So again, foundation-wise, solid start to maybe a really great long-standing franchise in the idle space if it is pushed. But as of right now, we don't know. Personally though, that's all I feel about the game. I think that's fine. If it's a one-and-done game, fair enough, leave as it is. Walk on and leave as it is. But as it stands, it's a fantastic game, and I do really think that you should give it a go. It's not that expensive after all. Honestly, I think I am about done waffling on here. If you like what you saw and want to see more, then by all means, follow me, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, comment, like, go to my other socials down below, links are all there and stuff if you want to see more of my kind of content and see future editions of whatever else I get up to. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.